For a long time in my life, I have been very, very afraid of things changing. In every way, it just absolutely terrified me. So my life changing, people changing, situations changing, there is something about this realization that every moment is always temporary that has always very much intrigued and at the same time frightened me. That is why today I wanted to talk about how to be okay with things changing. I think generally that is what most people are afraid of, losing people in our lives, or at least that is what I see from people around me. Just this fear that someone in our lives would one day not want us to be in their life anymore, or we would fight, or things would just grow apart, or we would just lose a connection. And personally, the people in my life mean a lot to me. So whenever something happens there or I lose a connection there, depending on the situation, that does have the potential of making me feel like my entire world is falling apart. So I'm not sure if I'm the best person to speak on how to embrace that, but I have learned how to understand it and accept it better. You see, other people are something that we will never be able to control. If we try to do that, that will backfire eventually. And I think if you look at it from a different perspective, that is also the beauty of the world, the fact that every human being has the possibility to become who they want to and to take the choices they want to and to show up the way they want to. And that just means that that is something we can't control, that is not set in the stars. The only thing that we can do is show up as the best versions of ourselves and in the end, be open to growth. And it is really a beautiful process, the fact that everyone can do whatever they want to, because that is the exciting part of life and the part that makes us grow. And people then falling apart or things changing in that way is simply part of that process, and that part fulfills its own very important purpose, I think. When I was young, I kind of grew up in this house on an island that was completely in nature. And I remember I had a tree house there that I was always building on. Then I had a garden that I was planting foods in. I had a cat that would always visit us, which basically became my best friend. And that place really was my home for a lot of years, and it really meant a lot to me. And so one day my parents came and told me that we had to move out of that house and into an apartment in the city. And at that point, my entire world just completely fell apart, because that place and everything that came with it and the cat and just all of it meant so much to me. The thing is, moving out of that house at first was really hard, but eventually I learned to adapt, and I realized that the apartment in the city brought its own advantages. I was more independent, I was able to meet my friends easier, I was in the city, and so that's the first time that I realized that I can actually become my own home. I can create a home wherever I go because I am my own home. And sure, it is nice to live in a place that is beautiful and where you feel at home. And I'm sure if we would want to, we could then hold on to that place forever and stay there. But I find that quite boring and confining as well, because building up a home within myself has allowed me to travel so much and live in so many different places and experience so many different things, because I no longer want to be confined to one place which gives me the feeling of home. If I can give myself the feeling of home wherever I am, that just allows so much more freedom. When it comes to saying goodbye to things that meant something to us, or beautiful parts of our life or ourselves, or with people or just situations, I like to think of it as flowers. So flowers, they come and they bloom and then eventually they die. And that is just the course of life. And I think same goes for change. So when we go to the supermarket and we buy flowers for our living room table, do we then not buy them because of the fear that they would someday change and die and turn back into soil and dirt? No, we buy them for the experience and the beauty of it, knowing that also that would eventually change. We don't necessarily see that flower dying as a negative part. It is just something that we accept. It is how life is built up. And one flower dying doesn't mean another flower can't come back into our living room table. And so I think it comes down to asking ourselves, what is life about and what do we want to experience? Is it about staying in our comfort zone and hiding ourselves in that so that we feel safe? No, it is about growth, and growth happens through change. It can't otherwise. That house that I grew up in was beautiful, and it will always have a very special place in my heart. It was very much one of the most beautiful flowers ever, and in that moment I didn't want to leave. But looking back, I'm very glad that that flower eventually died and bloomed into something else, because I wouldn't have wanted to live there until today. Leaving that place into an environment that challenged me differently made me grow in so many ways. And so my life, I have realized, has just been a series of different things and different people and different moments and different experiences that have all been very different but very important in their own way. And all of them have been beautiful and challenging in their own way, but none of them I would want to experience continuously, because it is eventually about evolving and changing and moving forward. None of it I would want to just snapshot and freeze and live on in until forever. In the end, we are always constant. That is one thing that will never change. I am that one person that experienced all of these different things, and I am the person who I have become through all of it. I am the person who has been with all these different people, and that is something that will never, ever, 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 ever change. I think eventually it really comes down to what I was talking about in the beginning. So becoming my own home, or maybe even becoming your own partner, your own soulmate, your own best friend, your own home, your own safe space, not in the sense that we don't need other people, but just becoming whole. And then once we feel that, this journey of life, which will always involve situations and people continuously changing and evolving, is at times challenging, but actually a very beautiful journey to be on. I think if we can find this solidified place of peace within us, then we can really experience life and really dive into different moments and different people and just experience it all for what it is, without getting attached or entangled, or without this fear of it one day changing or evolving, or maybe even being gone, because we realize that we will never leave. And so that is just the most important part. You will never leave. You will never leave yourself. And so all of these moments and experiences and people that come our way just come into this beautiful pot and this beautiful soup, which is our life and our experience. And that is really a beautiful soup, I guess. Change can be a very hard thing to navigate and to look into the eye. Believe me, I feel that. And I think for a lot of people, some of the most difficult and hardest moments involve something that has to do with change. And so I think it really comes down to making sure that we take care of ourselves and our well-being and our mental health and our nervous system, so that then we can stand strong in change and not get completely overwhelmed and pushed away by it, which I have also experienced a lot, until I understood that I need to be strong in myself to be able to navigate change, because change is not something that I will ever be able to control. As much as I would want to, sometimes it is something that you just cannot control, and so we might as well embrace it and see the beauty of it if it's anyway something we can't control. These are some of the thoughts that I wanted to share on this today. It is definitely a very broad and big topic, so one could probably make 100 videos on this and still not cover all of it. But I would love to know in the comments down below, what is one part of change that you still find difficult to embrace? And yeah, thank you so much, and I hope to see you in my next video.